Alright, everyone. So today's a little bit of a interesting day because price has been in a discount sort of all day. We've trended lower, and I've with this sort of reaction higher in early, AMs, and then a very aggressive run down. I kind of see this little pattern here as something that's grabbed liquidity. And then 9:30 opened up and created volatility higher. My problem though is that I need a 5-minute short-term low in order to actually be a buyer. So I'm not just chasing this right now. There was technically 9:15 low taken out at 9:30, but then it's just way too. It's not. I don't feel like it's obvious enough. So what I wanted to look for at 9:30 is we get another run lower, and then we go higher at the right time. But we also have 10 o'clock news, so I don't know how 10 o'clock news is going to react. We could start looking for shorts if we do go higher. I just don't want the range to be a little too big. If we do start to run above these highs, most I'm going to do is 160 points. But these sort of highs over here are like my target for the morning. I think that we can definitely make a run up into these today. And if we do reach them and we still have space and time to trade, then reasons to go, we can see reasons to go lower, then we can always take shorts. But right now I prefer to get a long setup to bring us up to buy side liquidity. So real quick, I just want to check on, interesting. But there is also news at 10, so I'm not doing anything. It's ISM, lots can happen until then. ISM services PMI. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pause, maybe do some schoolwork, I don't know, anything else until 10, and then I'm going to get back to it. Now at 9:40, we did come right back down to a short-term low, and we do have this nice large fair value gap. So the pattern, sort of the entry pattern, is also present for buys. Now this is, if it weren't for news at 10 o'clock, something like this would be completely reasonable for me to take a trade on. Let's just say I get in at about halfway of the gap, a 20-point stop. That's about at the low of the body. It's far beneath the gap low, so this is plenty of space. And then first 5-minute short-term high above 3RR. That'd be this one. Well, actually, that'd be this one up here. So yeah, something like this is completely reasonable, except there's news at 10 o'clock, and I've oftentimes seen news just ruin everything and come right back down and validate anything, but sometimes it delivers price and it works. So news kind of came out, and I'm just watching it. Looks like price is going to deliver to the buy side liquidity. That also means that now we're in a premium. We're above 50%, so I can start to look for shorts. Alright, so what's happened? We've ran up above buy side liquidity, huge rejection lower, but see, we do kind of have this short-term high. So we could start to go lower from this point and leave this high up here and then use this as a breaker. However, this is in a discount about beneath 50%, so I wouldn't trust it as much. Compared to where the high was, the breaker is very low, and so I wouldn't trust it as much for it to start to reverse here, but it is possible. and kind of inverse this gap here. So I'm talking about this one. And price is starting to find resistance there and making its way lower. But that is not my trade because I need to be positioned above 50%. So if it does continue going lower, I'm just going to watch to see what happens in the next 5-minute short-term low and see if we get any displacement higher. I am allowing myself a range of 160 points to continue looking for trades. And what I look for is very simple. Right now we are in a discount, so I'm only really trying to buy. I'm seeing the hourly chart kind of form some bullish fair value gaps and respect some bearish ones. And you also need to look at this entire move lower. Remember at the beginning I mentioned how we had an aggressive move lower in the AMs to take out this low and how this could be possibly a reversal. Notice what the 9 o'clock candle did is it closed all the way above the aggressive move lower. And so once it does that, it should be using this entire range as an order block as support. So I wouldn't really expect the bodies to stab down into a discount very much. So I can still trust to be a buyer. Right now it does look more comfortable to sell on the lower time frame. But from a higher time frame, not so much. And at the same time, whatever it looks like on lower or higher time frame has absolutely nothing to do with the trade I'm going to take. The trade I'm going to take is going to be taken following the rules, not what I think looks like what's going to happen. And so it doesn't matter to me as long as I see the things that I need to see. Right now I just haven't seen anything after 10 o'clock that would lead me to a trade. There's no 5-minute short-term high with displacement in a premium and no 5-minute short-term low following displacement in a discount for me to take a trade with. It's just a game of waiting right now. I do want to see though if this gap over here is going to resist price and if we're going to start to go lower off of it. One thing is we are above midnight open. So we did take a 5-minute short-term high and we are above midnight open. So this is a form of premium. I used to use the midnight open only, and then I started using the high and low of the day because I found that was a bit more accurate. It made a bit more sense too. So I don't really subscribe to the midnight open anymore. I more so look at that 50%. And yeah, this trade could work, but I just don't want to be part of it because of that issue with the premium of the day being a bit too high. Let's just say I had tried to get part of it, looking for about 30 points. We'd be aiming after 3RR, we'd be aiming for this low. Alright, hello everyone. So I was right not to take this trade. It's not about just being right. I mean, it just didn't line up with the rules. But what I mean is that it wouldn't have worked even if I was a discretionary trader. Like, I didn't really like this at all. Just because like the breaker was formed very, very low from where the high is. It wasn't very in close proximity. It's kind of like the same thing right here with this low. The breaker, if you say from this low to that high, that's the breaker, is formed in a very high, it's formed very high compared to where the low is. So the RR isn't as good, and you tend to see slower price action in these scenarios. But it would have been very, very uncomfortable sitting in this trade. I did want to buy it at 1037, but we never got a trade back into the gap, and then it's kind of continuing to press higher. And I also noticed something else is between the S&P and the NASDAQ, there's SMT, so we're not correlated right now. We have this correlation between the three indexes, with the S&P and the Dow making higher highs, but the Nasdaq failing to make that. And usually the Nasdaq is leader in wherever price is going. So the fact that Nasdaq's failing to make new high kind of tells me that we might start to go lower. But it's very, for me to trade lower, I would need to have a 5-minute short-term high, which means this high. And so I would kind of need there to be no SMT. And I just don't think that they're correlated right now, not because they're reversing, but just because price isn't very efficient right now. And it makes sense. It's a Monday. There was news, but there's also the Fed interest rate decision on Wednesday. And there's absolutely no news tomorrow either. So I don't think so, at least. Yeah, so it's not really like a good time. It's a balance of trade, but yeah, it's not really a good time to really be trading at all right now with just the way this looks, sideways price action. And I'm just glad I didn't take anything. But anyways, that's all.